Can you hear me? Good. Now, strap yourself in and get ready for the next big pod. Your source for all the latest news from the world of boxing. From York Hall and the Echo Arena to Manderson Square Garden and the bright lights of Las Vegas, we bring you the best and worst the sweet science has to offer. We've assembled a panel of experts from across the British Isles, as well as a star-studded roster of celebrity guests. So sit back, open a large packet of crisps, and enjoy a tasty slice of boxing chat courtesy of the next big pod.
Right, good evening everyone, and welcome to the first ever edition of the Next Big Pod Premier Podcast Champions, coming live from all across the UK with, as our celebrity introducer mentioned, a star-studded panel, including Alex Morris of Boxing Asylum, Brian King of formerly of iFilm London, and Tom and Sam. Tom and Sam, introduce yourselves for anyone who doesn't know you.
I'm Tom.
Bose doesn't like me. That's the only thing. And Irish Deck doesn't either.
I got laughed at by Dex Taylor for asking Dylan White if he wanted to come on.
Did he reply? Did you get a reply or not?
I didn't, mate. No, he blanked me. Fucking
That's
prick.
weird. He usually replies. So anyway, yeah, okay. So this is a new podcast, shaking up the boxing game, which has got a bit stale recently. I think we can all agree the current podcasts are pretty poor. So
Hush.
yeah, so we're bringing a unique, tasty slice of boxing chat, humour, and rumours from the UK and further afield. So, right, guys, go straight into it. We had Mares Santa Cruz at the weekend. Good fight, not a great fight, I didn't think. Won't bother reviewing it. Everyone's been talking about it for a few days, but sort of getting on to the roughly 6-month anniversary of PBC starting, with the first card. I think that was Thurman Guerrero, wasn't it? That was the first one back in back in March or something like that. 6 months in, Alex, I'll go to you first. Give me a score for PBC and out of 10, and just explain your take on it basically so far.
It's a difficult one to rate, really, because what we've seen lately, especially in August, they had a really good run in August. We had a Huklavaki, obviously Mares and Santa Cruz, and the undercard to that was pretty good as well. So they're coming off of, doing quite well. They had Payano Warren as well. That was a good little fight that they made. But, it's too far and too between. I mean, the starting fights that they had, the first couple of shows they had lined up, like you say, it was Thurman Guerrero, and then you had Garcia, Peterson,
Broner Molina.
Yeah, the fights.
Classic,
Broner Molina.
classic.
I mean, that was. Yeah, I mean, the fights were pretty dismal, unfortunately. I mean, you can't really. It's hard to say, really. I mean, can you really blame them for the fights being dismal, even though the matchmaking seems quite good? Like, similar to the way that, if the matchmaking is poor, but that it turns out to be a bit of a belter, do they deserve credit for that? And that's happened a couple of times as well. The likes of, big old fucking fat nipple Chris Arreola. He's turned up plenty of times into fights that have burnt down excellent simply because he's so shit, and they lower down his opposition to such a state that, and he can't keep up with it. He's just so bad now that it's appalling. And
He gets into a war with everyone, doesn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think back of some of the great fights they've had. They've had a few good nights. They had Andy Lee versus Pete Quillin, I think. But again, unexpected. I don't think they planned to have Quillin look so terrible in that. And the fights that are coming up ahead of time, like what they've been doing with Stevenson, what they've been doing with Mares, are obviously up until this point, and same with Santa Cruz, and up until this point, it's just atrocious. And can we forgive them for the utter shite that they've given for the majority of the time, simply because they finally put on a good couple of shows or two? And that's the big question. So out of 10, I've got to rate them maybe a 6. I'll go for a 6.
It's quite generous. It's quite generous. Sam, what do you reckon?
Well, some of it's been really good. Like Porter versus Broner, I really enjoyed that fight. But they, like Alex said, they're really few and far between. And looking at the schedule they've got coming up, it's just shit fight after shit fight. Like Durrell versus Rubio is just trash. Trout Hernandez, shit. Stevenson Carpentier, I mean, everyone knows that's a joke. Wilder Duhaupas as well. You can't really forgive him for making that sort of fight because he's got so many decent fighters on his roster. He's just not putting them together, or he's scared to.
But
I'd
Sam,
probably give it that. Huh?
well, sorry.
What's that?
All of those fights are coming in September, though.
Yeah, I know, that's what I mean. That's what I said, the schedule coming up.
Like, you can't slate them for having 9 cards in September when,
they're
what have we got in
cards,
this country? But crap's better than nothing, in my opinion. And we get nothing over here.
I feel like, Tom, the September's sort of the month of... It's all of their B-side fighters, as it were.
Yeah.
It's the guys who will ultimately get set up to lose to the big names. So, like, Anthony Durrell is not a priority for Haymon's stable. Austin Trout, is being kind of fed along to ultimately get beaten by an up-and-comer, get beaten by one of the Charlos or something like that. Or, one of the young guys that maybe move up to middleweight, get beaten by someone there. But, and like you say, it's a month of sort of the B-level guys, and then maybe they'll bring the big names back. I don't know. Yeah,
but they've got
Stevenson.
They've got Stevenson and Wilder, and they're fighting trash.
Yeah, Stevenson's just a weird one. I just don't know what the end game is with Stevenson at all. I don't know what they're aiming towards. Like beyond,
they make a lot of money with Stevenson.
Yeah,
they make a lot of money with Stevenson in Canada. That's the thing. He's a big draw over there, and it's the same
now as well, haven't they?
They're making money. Like,
they got big. That's a good point.
Off the back of Carpentier beating Dawson, though, haven't they? So it's not like the fights just come out of thin air. They've made the fight because Carpentier won a fight.
Well,
and won quite a big fight.
But that was like a year ago, though.
Yeah, I know,
that was a while ago.
Still,
He beat Dawson.
The next one, they've got Quillen Zarafa. I mean, that is
I've never heard of
terrible.
Zarafa.
Exactly. I had a box.
He's a male stripper. He's a male stripper.
He's
Is he really?
He's an Australian. I think he's fought 5 people with a winning record. The last fight he had was a 6-rounder against Thailand's number 4 super middleweight.
Yeah, he genuinely is like an adult entertainer. You can like hire him out for like hen parties.
It's a Chippendale.
Like
Yeah, you see him in like one of those waiters' outfits and stuff.
Can we get him on the pod?
Overall,
he'd actually probably come on. He's one of the few.
We'd have to pay him, and he'd have to take his clothes off, but we could get him on.
We'd get a video pod.
Get him on webcam,
I've just checked out Carpentier's record, and he fought a guy with a losing record in. That's strange. Like, when was that? In May, he fought a guy with a losing record, having not fought for 8 months after Dawson.
So the last fight that he had was Dawson before May.
Yeah, Dawson was October last year, and to be fair, I did think he won that. I thought he won 6. I think it was a 10-rounder, wasn't it? I think I had him winning 6 rounds. I thought he edged it, and I thought there was no way they were going to give it to him. I was really surprised when they gave him the decision.
What would you say is the worst fight that's been on the PBC so far then? Because I'd go Cunningham-Tarver by a mile.
That was a 50-50 though, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's reasonably well matched. Yeah.
Would you say by worst? Do you say by the worst mismatch or just the worst one to watch?
Just the worst in general. Like you look at it and it makes you want to be sick. Like you see 2 names there and you think...
The Malignaggi fight annoyed me a lot. That really pissed me off because it was, it's like, 4 in a row for Garcia, fights that were just pointless. Like there was just no point in... There was I don't understand what the point of what that fight does for either guy beyond give them a bit of money.
And Malignaggi brain damage.
Yeah, it was just stupid, and he got really upset afterwards. Like it was just like it wasn't enjoyable to watch at all.
He's fighting for the EBU, isn't he, Malignaggi?
He's fighting in Italy. Yeah.
Is he fighting Branco? it Branco for the EBU?
I don't know. I seen it earlier on.
Yeah, I saw he was. I think it might be. It's in Rome or something, but he's going back there. Alex, just going back to Stevenson, it's interesting. He's actually one of the few guys. Just been looking it up. One of the few that's actually been kept in their hometown. So, like you say, he is clearly a draw. Like all the other guys are getting shipped out all over the place, and you're getting sort of Broner versus Porter. Both Ohio guys fighting in Vegas, and then you're getting like guys from Philadelphia fighting in San Diego and all this nonsense. But Stevenson's the one where they've actually kept him, Toronto and Quebec, because clearly he can draw a crowd.
Yeah, it's an odd one, isn't it? I mean, he like you say, he seems to be shipping people around. We've obviously seen it with the Brits as well. I mean, there was a lot of issue about Frampton going over and fighting in Texas of all places. I mean, yeah, I can understand maybe not going to Ireland in the first place, but at least America's got some very big.
Go to Boston
Irish
or something,
communities.
yeah.
Boston, Massachusetts, that sort of area. It's just loads of fucking Irish people or fake Irish who fucking
Or
love
New-
the Irish.
Yeah, or
Mainly
New York,
fake
exactly,
Irish.
Exactly. Or go to
but-
Deck's hometown, Limerick.
I think there's been a few others. I think it wasn't. I think Guerrero's been sort of kept around the old.
He's in California, isn't he?
California,
He's at Wilder, back
West
Alabama,
Coast sort of area.
And he's
Why
also
Wilder's, Wilder. They've kept him in Alabama, haven't they?
Yeah, they have
They have.
finally. Yeah, finally they've started sticking him there, and once he's become champ. But before that, he was getting. I remember him fighting in California a couple of times. At the
Well, he
Stump
fought
Urban and
the
stuff.
defensive master, Jason Gavin, didn't he, on Brooke Porter undercard?
It's a defensive puzzle, not a master.
Oh,
There's a
sorry.
big difference there.
Defensive puzzle.
Sorry, I forgot
But
he was a puzzle.
Anthony Joshua was able to unfold the defensive puzzle.
He unlocked that puzzle.
Yeah.
It's like Hellraiser.
Yeah. Oh dear. Yeah. Hellraiser. Oh god. Got that on VHS
On the topic
somewhere.
of shit fights, I think Shumenov Flores is probably up there. I thought that was going to be a bad fight from the beginning, and it was a bad fight from the beginning.
Yeah, that's awful.
Even though
I agree.
it wasn't really 50-50 either. I mean, Shumenov, obviously the far more accomplished champion. He's done something, albeit at a lower weight, and it just turned out to be as shit as anyone thought it would be. And
Shumenov's very, very boring. Like, very, very boring. I watched this fight with Campillo, and I thought that Campillo won very easily. Shumenov's a very, very bad fighter. Flores is even worse, but
And he
I
did
think
nothing
anyone-
against Hopkins, did he? And then
he didn't know.
You
He was
thought
very,
maybe-
very bad.
awful performance, loses his belts. I think he's 34 or something. Shumenov has never been very active during his career, and I thought maybe that would be the last we see of him. And then he pops up. It was just to give Flores a fight, wasn't it? Let's be honest. Like to give the comment. It's a bit like Malignaggi on Showtime. Like they sort of they put the work in commentating, and then they seem to get rewarded for it with a sort of a cheap shot at a belt, or kind of a cheap winnable fight, and then obviously he lost it. Brian, you've been very quiet.
I've just been letting you rant on.
What did you think of Ricky Burns on the PBC, Brian?
Oh, he got smashed. Ref should have stopped that, I thought.
Here we go.
Let it out, Brian.
Actually, to be fair though, Sam, I thought that was one of the better
Trying
fights
to
that's been on
fucking be
it.
sensible on here. They're trying.
No, it was, yeah. I agree with you.
That was Brian. I say
I'm
that
just
was
trying
one
to
of the
look
best
back.
fights they've had. No,
It was a good fight. It was dirty and loads of fucking holding, but I had Burns winning, but whether I was biased or not, I don't know. But fuck Figueroa, fuck him.
I
He's a
thought
cunt.
Burns won it.
it was terribly refereed. I think didn't Burns get a point taken off or something?
Burns, I
Aye.
think he had 2 points taken off, didn't he? And Lawrence Cole kept holding his arms back while he was trying to throw punches.
Yeah, that's right.
Which
See
is
the thing with
weird.
the PBC. More often than not, the fights come with some sort of stipulation where either somebody drops a belt, misses weight, or there's some sort of catch weight. There's very rarely you get in like a fight as if it's like on an even keel. Like we all wanted to see like Porter Broner, but then it had to be at 144 to try and drain somebody, which it didn't work out for him. I mean, people turn around and say Lee Quillen, but at the same time, Quillen was the one that dropped that belt fucking before, so he didn't need to fight Korobov, and then didn't make weight for that.
Yeah, he missed.
You've got Danny Garcia, who kept saying that he was going to move up to £147, but was constantly fighting catch weights at 142, 143. If you were, would you not be trying to acclimatise yourself to the weight, be going up like 144, 145, maybe getting a welterweight to come down to 145, instead of getting like a midget and Rod Salka up to 142, getting Peterson at 142? What's the point of fighting a light welterweight who basically same size as you anyway? Could you not just fought him at 140 or just not fought him at all?
I remember
took up to 147.
Peterson complained about that at the time and said they wanted it at 140. It wasn't their decision to go up to 142 or whatever it was. And the Salka thing, if I remember, was last minute, and that was meant to be, the original outrage was that Salka was getting a shot at the lineal junior welterweight title, despite he wasn't even in the top 50 at lightweight. He was like an area. But
he's not a lightweight; he's a super featherweight.
Yeah. He was literally an area level guy. It would be like Tommy Coyle getting offered what weight's Coyle? Lightweight, right?
Yeah.
It would be like Coyle getting offered a shot at the vacant Ring magazine welterweight title when Floyd retires. It's absolutely mad. And it's you've got to feel for Salka because he'll be remembered forever as like the butt of the joke.
Yeah.
And every bad matchup, people will still be talking about it in 20 years as being like this famously terrible bit of matchmaking.
Well, that's the PBC for you.
Well, no, that was Showtime though.
Garcia got a gift decision.
Yeah, that was Showtime. That was.
So something's never changed.
Who's been promoting most of these shows for him? Is it DeBella?
No,
it's different promotionals
for different areas. Mayweather does Las Vegas.
His stable's gash, don't it, Nate Weathers?
It's the home of
one
champions.
that won the James DeGale purse bids was Warriors promotional company, and they won it with about 2.5 million. And I remember Hearn being absolutely adamant that he was going to win it, and then got outbid and just didn't bid anything.
Who are they though? Who is Warrior Boxing?
They were Al Haymon's.
It's one of those companies that they claim he doesn't own, but
one of his shadow companies.
Yeah. The guys who write the checks with his name on them, and then he claims he doesn't pay, and he's not the money man. But yeah, I remember Hearn saying, they put in an offer that was, and he basically said, I didn't know if it was sort of he was kind of shitting on his own guy, but he basically went they paid massively over the odds for the fight, it wasn't worth $2.5 million or whatever, which is probably true. And he was like, there's no way I was going to compete with that because the fight wasn't worth that much. I don't think he thought DeGale would win, to be honest.
I didn't think DeGale won, to be honest.
Tom, you can't score a fight.
I can score a fight as well as anyone can.
You can't score a fight once it's happened, mate, let alone beforehand.
Yeah.
Ken Shamrock beat fucking Kimbo Slice. Fuck off.
AIDS.
He had Chavez Whittaker a draw as well, I think.
I really did think that he won the fight.
See if I can go back to what Tom said earlier on. It's better having loads of shite than nothing at all. I don't agree with that, right? Because what you're getting here is you're just basically getting Haymon snapping up absolutely everybody. What he's doing is he's taking the opponents as well for. People feel just for saying sake, Golden Boy and that, they can't get opponents because Haymon is signing all of them up. So what Haymon is doing is he's giving airtime to these shite fights, right? You've got Lara on the undercard of Trout. Lara's already beat Trout. Who the fuck wants to watch Trout v Hernandez and Lara v Rojas? No, nobody gives a shit about that. Why are they getting this sort of airtime? And just because I know there's people here that the boxers are getting paid. I couldn't give a fuck if a boxer goes bankrupt. Apart from Ricky Burns, fuck you, Eddie. Right, but I'm not there to give a fuck what they're getting paid. Right, I don't care. I just want to see good fights. I would rather have far less where it was quality than get so much shite. I mean, Stevenson Carpence's bollocks. The undercard Spence v Van Heerden. I expect Spence to leather him, but it's a fight I would rather watch than Stevenson Carpence. That's trash. See, it's got to the point now with Premier Boxing. It's on every week, and because it's on every week, a lot of the time you're just going to zone out and not watch it because you're it's going to be on next week and there'll probably be a better fight. There's that many fucking fights on now that you're just people are picking and choosing.
They've got them Friday, Saturday, and sometimes Saturday, Sunday, haven't they?
McDonald's going to be on Sunday.
But they're bringing in Tuesday night fights as well.
Oh, what's that going to be on, like ESPN or one of the Fox channels or something?
Isn't Selby
It's
Montiel
on
on a
Fox
Thursday? Selby Montiel's going to be on a
Has that definitely
Thursday.
been signed, yeah?
Apparently so. It's on the undercard
is
of...
it the 15th, something like that? It's in about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Yes, Fox Sports 1s are doing the Tuesday cards.
Apparently, it's all to do with, obviously we can't appreciate it over here, but it's all to do with stuff like the NFL and college football, and they and college basketball. They schedule fights for immediately after the traditional games. I guess it would be like us having a fight after a Champions League night. Do you know what I mean? When loads of people are going to be watching telly anyway, or having it straight after match of the day, that sort of thing. Like when you know you've got the audience kind of on their side. But
we've got this in a smaller case over here where you've got the one promoter that's got a stranglehold on the TV networks, right? And he's putting on so many shite cards, and you've got loads of people turning around and saying, "Oh, but at least we're getting boxing." But it's fucking garbage. Oh, but at least we're getting it. Like, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be getting any boxing.
Brian, how can you?
That's not the fucking argument.
The argument. 8-rounder. How can you not be happy with that?
Who wants to see Bellew in an 8-rounder in Leeds? That was Hearn's words.
No one. And then that's exactly what we get. The fight is heavyweight. Against their son.
I do love that.
From? Where's he from? Like Georgia or something?
Oh, he's from. I think he might be. He might actually be Latvian.
Because he's the second best. He's the second best Latvian heavyweight, and he fighting Tony Bellew on his 6th.
Latvian cruiserweight.
He's a Latvian cruiserweight. He's only 20. He's only 24 somehow. His record is 16 wins, 8 KOs, 26 losses, and 5 draws.
He's dangerous, then.
Yeah.
He's not really the same fella. I was looking at his record and he only had 8 losses. Is this the same guy?
Arturs Kuliakauskis.
That's well pronounced. I don't know. I was looking at
that's the guy
some young chubby fella.
No.
I must have been reading the box rec.
Maybe the opponent might have changed. Have a look at it. Have a look at it on box rec now, Tom. It's a lad with 10 more losses than he's got wins. Who? Yeah, has he actually?
Martin Murray's fighting somebody that's got 6 losses. He's like 30 wins or something like that. 32 wins with about 27 knockouts or something, and he's got 6 losses.
He got absolutely beat up by David Lemieux as well, didn't he? That's horrible.
Yeah, absolutely leathered.
That's another thing. Bellew's fighting a guy that was at middleweight a couple of years back. That's a fucking shocker.
He fought Lemieux on Stevenson Bellew card when Bellew just didn't turn up.
Oh, so Bellew's like, I remember that guy that was on my undercard.
Yeah, he's more of a bitch that night. So.
Bellew died in the ring that night. He was prepared to die in the ring, all right?
Well, he lost his soul on the scales, I think.
Yeah, well, that's true.
He was Gregson.
I'm saying nothing. I'll end up running into him at some point.
This guy looks... This guy Bellew's fighting, he does look like he can... actually, I don't know.
Eat a kebab?
There's a lot of decision... he looks in shape. There's a lot of decision losses, but they're all in like 6-rounders, so I don't know if he can do the distance, really. He did the distance with Silak, you know that guy Kovalev knocked out? He fought him in June this year.
What weight?
Oh, God.
He has been fighting that cruiserweight, light heavyweight. He's actually weighed heavier than Bellew before, I think.
Yeah, he was £200 for that, and Silak was 188, which is £20 heavier than he was. Sorry, £7 heavier than he was against Kovalev that time. But he hadn't fought in a year. Imagine he's
he got his soul taken.
He's been ruined. Yeah, exactly. Right, so let's.
Okay, just finally see with regards to the PBC. I've seen the kind of argument turning around and saying that it's only a new venture. It's only been going for 6 months, keep a bit of time. I understand that they're kind of trying to get the audience to know these boxers, which is why Thurman isn't fighting nobody because they're trying to build his name up on ESPN, blah 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 blah. But see, at the same time, I've not got any patience for that. I had to go through 2014 watching absolute trash, and Haymon was the cause for that. Haymon gave us all these shite fights in 2014. He had the opportunity to hit the ground running with PBC because of the amount of access that he had on Showtime. So I'm not giving him a pass. I think PBC has been absolute trash, other than the odd fight here. And see the fights that have been a success, it's not been by design. It's been the likes of Burns, Figueroa, where we all thought Burns was over there like fucking Lambsday Slaughter. You had like Kamida v McDonald, where everybody thought like fucking that wee Jap was going to like win, right? You've got like Rashid Warren, that fight, Payano. Like, these are the sort of fights that
mate.
Aye, but nobody's really gone out their way to watch these fights. It's not like the big names. Like the big name fights, they're pish. So no, fuck PBC.
Well, I think the problem with it is that you've got the Mayweather kind of sweepstakes and the Mayweather opponent, whoever it is on a given year, which is a huge pay-per-view event, and then there's no level below that. Like, there's no kind of the equivalent of a kind of a Cotto Canelo type level, where it's either Mayweather or nothing. Like, in terms of the big huge fights, like, but there's such a drop off between the top level.
Like, Mayweather opponents are basically getting paid the same as what like Thurman and all that are getting paid right now. So Floyd doesn't pay this great money that people think. It's the exposure of trying to beat that guy. He doesn't pay great money. But see, there's no encouragement for like boxers to go and fight the top guys in his division if they're all getting paid like roughly about $1 million and a half. They'll all maybe get 4 fights a year, make $6 million, fighting whoever. It's when PBC need to start making money. Is when we'll see everybody getting through in with each other, because they can't keep going on like this where he's paying everybody all this money and they're still fighting shite. I mean, could you imagine like Hearn basically Brook versus fucking Gavin, and he's getting $1.5 million, and like he's paying all his guys roughly that same price? Like, this guy would fucking would go to shit. So at some point the PBC is going to need to make money. They're going to need to turn money at some point because he's got hedge funds and all that. So maybe at that point he's going to have to start pairing everything together. But Santa Cruz and Mares was probably his best pairing, and hopefully that's just the beginning, because like HBO come the end of the year, they've got some fucking massive fights on, and hopefully at the end of the year this is going to save it.
I think HBO's been really unlucky this year, because if you actually look through the fights they've made, they've been
they've made the best fights. They've made the best fights.
They made Alvarado Rios 3, which you thought, okay, both guys are on the slide. That should be a good fight. It turned out to be awful. They made Provodnikov Matisse, which should have been the fight of the year. Turned out to be sort of 7 out of 10. Not quite as good as we hoped. They've made, Kovalev Pascal. They're making Canelo Cotto. They're making a lot of fights which have the potential to be fantastic. Golovkin, Lemieux, exactly. And they're trying at least. Whereas I think with Haymon, you get the sense that he's just not trying to make those.
I think that's the one thing PBC has done good though, is give Golden Boy and Top Rank a kick up.
Yeah, well, that's basically that. They've made them make better fights.
They know they've got to make good fights because no fucker will watch otherwise. Because why would they sell out on a pay-per-view when they can watch shit on Friday night, Saturday night for free if they want?
Yeah,
so I think he's done good in that way.
And I think if you look at the best fights on PBC so far, quite a lot of them have been like mandatory fights that would have taken place otherwise. So like De Gale, Dirrell, for a vacant.
Well, see, when he's got his hand forced, he can't do nothing about it unless he does a quilling and drops the belt. But I'm in a minority. I personally think that De Gale, Dirrell was one of the best fights of the year. I know people fucking don't like it because it's like boxing, but personally I think it was one of the better fights this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think I've put it top 5 or so.
And who did you have winning that fight, Brian?
Oh, I did have Dirrell winning it, but...
Thank you very much, Sam.
Did you really? Okay, fair enough.
Well, Brian's track record, what was their Porter Brook score?
I had Porter winning that as well.
117, 111.
I wasn't that bad.
You had Burns winning against Figueroa, and he should have been disqualified. He was filthy that night.
Lawrence Cole should have been disqualified.
Lawrence Cole was being really I thought he gave Ricky a break, only taking 2 points. To be honest with you,
Ricky Burns is a fucking saint.
He should never box again after that.
Are they gonna? There's rumours of them making Campbell Burns, is there not?
Oh, for fuck's sake!
I don't know why they don't make.
About to quit.
The Burns-Mitchell rematch makes so much sense to me, honestly. I don't know why they don't make that.
Yeah, they're both on the slide.
Yeah, maybe it is. But I think that's a good competitive... Yeah, exactly, they're both on the slide. We know that Burns, when they were at their best, Burns was better. But I think it would be a competitive fight again now, and it would be a really good win for either guy. And
Plus,
I
at
just
the end
don't
of
know
the
why they
day, we
don't
know
make
what
it.
happens. Mitchell would probably win 11 rounds and still find a way to fucking lose. He's a career loser. Fuck him.
He is fucking
No, I think
useless.
probably Burns would dominate and outbox him, and then Ian John Lewis would have given the first 8 rounds to Kevin Mitchell. That's probably what would happen.
How did you score that fight with Linares and Mitchell, Chev? I know you were
mate,
there.
I watched it live. I was there, and I got a load of shit because I think I gave Mitchell 3 rounds, including the 10-8. So I had Linares. I had it pretty much even going into 7, but with the knockdown making Mitchell up. I had Linares like 2 points ahead when it was stopped, but a lot of other people seemed to have it even or Linares still slightly behind. But I just felt like he was very comfortable moving around, and Mitchell was missing a lot. Like he was throwing huge hooks, and they were missing, and the crowd was going nuts. But
the only punch that Mitchell can throw is a left hook, and it's terrible.
Yeah, and he throws it from his waist from about half a mile away. Yeah.
Yeah. If it doesn't land, then he's fucked because he just gets countered.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's exactly what Ricky Burns did, and Ricky Burns destroyed him down the middle. Like every punch that he landed was straight down the middle, or a left hook over the top of his left hook, and that was it.
One of the greatest fights the last 20 years in Britain, I'd say. Right, Brian?
Ricky Burns, Kevin Mitchell.
Yeah, an epic night.
I thought it was brilliant, but I didn't Kevin Mitchell.
Right, so lads, very quickly before we move on, scores out of 10 for PBC.
I'm going to go for a 5.
Okay, 5. Alex said a 6. Brian?
I'd say a 4. It's the good fights have been few and far between.
Yeah, I agree. I had it a 4. And Sam?
5.
Okay, so it's a 5 overall. I think that's probably about fair. A lot of room for improvement. Right, so moving on away from small-time American boxing into big-time British boxing. We've got 2 cards. Actually, we were going to talk about the Warren card. I forget the name of World War III, isn't it? We're going to talk about that, but also we've
World War
actually
One
now
and a
got...
half by now.
Frank
World
Morrison
War
more losses than fucking Robin Deaton.
Yeah, it'll be World War -1 by the time the card actually gets put on.
It'll be Liam Smith in a 6-rounder.
Against Tony Bellew.
Yeah. 225 catch weight. Yeah, and I also thought, if anyone's got any thoughts on that, and then also we can throw in, I was reading today that, again, I find it's all coming from American sources now. I don't know, Brian will probably tell me it's a load of rubbish, but that apparently Quig Donaire is very close to being done for November. And it's not, and this isn't coming from Eddie Hearn, this is coming from sources in the States. And if that ends up being on a Manchester show, maybe with the Crawler-Perez rematch, then, you could end up with 2 huge cards within a month or so of each other. So if anyone wants to fire away.
I'm not going to say, like, the Donaire fight can't happen, because I think Hearn's backed himself into a corner here, because he's basically come out and said that it's going to be Cal Frampton or Donaire. I'm pretty sure he said that, right? And I don't think there's a hope in hell the Frampton fight happening now, because obvious reasons. I spoke to you about that off air, and he's not getting anywhere else to go. Hearn's always going on about Quig doesn't get this respect. Look what he's done. He still doesn't get the respect that he deserves because of the Kiko fight and stuff like that. The reason he doesn't get the respect is because he's not a world champion, and as much as the Kiko fight was great and it was a devastating finish, right? He still took about 18 months to get the Kiko fight that he said he was getting last year, right? And Frampton, with a small time promoter, was able to pay the money to get the champion over there at the time. And this is why he still doesn't get the respect. He's flaunting about there like a world champion. He's not. But see if he gets Donaire over here, even I can't say nothing bad about that. Props to Eddie Hearn if he gets him over here. That's a proper fucking name. That's probably the first big name that is going to come over here since, I would actually say Costa Azul.
I have a feeling.
I'd say it's on a level with Linares coming over for Mitchell, isn't it? I think it's on that sort of a level where it's like an established
I think
guy.
Donaire is a far bigger name than Linares.
Yeah, it's going to cost him more money.
Even now, do you reckon?
much more.
He's
Bigger
not,
than
even
Kessler,
now.
bigger than Butte.
I mean, like,
Kessler for Kawasaki the first time was pretty big, wasn't it?
I'm going in the fact that
Cardiff
what he's done in boxing as well. Kessler fine, but I still think that the likes of Donier is a far bigger name than Kessler. Kessler's more known in Europe.
Yeah,
I have a
I
feeling
suppose
thing
it's
is-
a massive state.
The reason McDonald's name is being bandied about for Quigg now is because Hearn is floundering over paying the money for a fighter. I don't think he wants to pay the money that Donaire wants. Donaire's on like $1 million+, so about
It'll be pay-per-view.
£700,000.
yeah, exactly. It'll be pay-per-view, definitely.
That's
Maybe,
the only way they
but
can
even
afford
then-
him.
Even then, he doesn't want to pay that sort of money to anyone. Like he paid Kell Brook, was it $250 for his fight against Frankie Gavin, and that was a main event of a pay-per-view that supposedly sold really well.
Yeah, but is he thinking long term with the Quigg fight? He's thinking if he beats Donaire, then the Frampton fight's bigger, then it's more money for Hearn at the back end of it.
I think
Yeah,
the
but
reason I'm reasonably optimistic that it might happen is because I think it makes sense for both guys. I think a win over Quigg would really boost Donaire's profile back. You know, having been knocked out and lost badly to Rigo, and then obviously knocked out by Walters. I think a win over Quigg gets Donaire right back up there, and it's a fight. If he's got anything close to what he had at his peak, he'll think, yeah, I can knock him out in his hometown. No
The only problem with that is the only person that Donnie's going to be able to fight if he does beat Quigg, if the fight does happen, is Rigondo. There isn't anybody else that he's going to be able to fight, really. Because everybody else is on the other side of the street.
Maybe he could pop up
He
to
could fight Frampton.
126, fight Lomachenko, something like that. You know, he's got options on HBO.
He get his shit pushed in again.
Well, yeah, but it would be a big payday and another opportunity. I think.
Nobody wants to see that. Nobody fucking wants to see that. Lomachenko's not massive, but he's big compared to him.
If Donaire flattens Quigg, in Manchester, I think people would start to believe again, and they would want to see Donaire in another big fight in America. And I think if Quigg beats Donaire, obviously that's his best win, and that's him, right up there with Frampton, pushing for the biggest names in the division, like you say, whether it's McDonald or whether it's whoever. That's Quigg as not a pay-per-view star, but as a sort of bona fide headliner. I reckon if he can beat someone like Donaire.
Like Brian was saying, that where does Donaire go, but where does Quigg go after it? I mean, a lot of us still don't think the Frampton fight's going to happen. So if Quigg does beat Donaire, who's he going to fight? He's not going to fight Rigo. We know that fight's not going to happen. So what is he going to go up to featherweight himself? I know he is obviously a big guy.
I have a feeling Quigg can move up because he's absolutely massive for
he's huge.
bantamweight.
Yeah, but has he ever?
He looks like he's dying at every weigh-in.
Does he really? I've never heard about him struggling to make the weight or anything. I've never heard that story.
He's tall though, isn't he? He's very tall for it.
You need to have a look at the photographs of him at weigh-ins. He looks like he's dying. It's awful. He looks like a zombie.
His eyeballs looks like me on a Sunday morning when I'm getting after gear.
I think it's probably because of his diet, though. To be fair,
how is the show character?
75% vinegar. Yeah, it's as bad as Rocco with his his cheesy crisps.
Carpet.
Sponge.
Right, so that's Donaire and Quigg. We'll see if it happens. Good fight if it does. Fair play.
100%. Fair play to him.
Yeah,
even I'll send fucking Hearn a wee cheeky tweet and a wee fist pump.
I'm sure
that'll
make his day.
Give him the fight champ.
Thanks.
It is one of the best fights that he's potentially made. I do agree.
But to be honest, I mean, it just kind of fans the flames because it proves that when he wants to, let's say he does make it, it will just prove that when Hearn feels like it, he can get these names. So this is another topic. We'll get onto it a bit later. But like in the case of Brook, it will make it clear that it's a case of him not being prepared to put up the money to get the opponents. So I think I don't know, it kind of cuts both ways. But anyway, we'll talk about that in a bit. But the World War III, if anyone wants to talk about that, the Liam Smith title fight, which just annoys me more and more the more I think about it, and the fact that they so obviously lowballed Sorrow out of it in order to get a far easier opponent, in a title shot that Liam Smith doesn't deserve. From what I can see, doesn't deserve it at all.
No, you're right. Originally, that was one of the best cards, probably in the last 20 years in Britain. with the fights that were on it. So you got Magdaleno against Flanagan, you had Liam Smith against Sorrow, and then you had Andy Lee against Billy Joe, which were all 50-50 fights. I mean, maybe even 60-40 to the B-side. And it's all fallen apart, and now it's fucking dreadful.
It's too good to be true, wasn't it? Sadly.
It was, yeah. And now it's just sad.
Sorry, Tom. Very quickly. Is Magdaleno? Is he a mandatory, or is that a voluntary defence?
Yeah, he's the mandatory.
Yeah, I was going to say because that seemed like a bit. I remember being really impressed with that matchup, and then thinking, wait a minute, why would Magdaleno choose to come? Why would he? Because he's with Golden Boy, isn't he? He's quite well promoted, and
yes.
Sorry. Anyway, yeah. On you go.
Well, you can never be sure with Frank, can you? Because they chose to fight Kovalev.
Yeah, that was Cleverly's choice, though. That wasn't Frank. Cleverly was fucking begging Frank Warren to fight Kovalev because he wanted to prove
it for a while,
that he was. He wanted to prove that he was the best fighter in the division.
What a nutcase!
Yeah,
I know, fucking lunatic.
And he went over to Montreal against Kovalev, and he ran, and then he got knocked out. Whereas Bellew went to war in Cardiff. Oh no, wait, sorry,
other way round.
I've got it the wrong way round. Sorry.
No, I was actually going to buy tickets to this World War III card, but I did say that I was going to wait until a couple of weeks before the fights were due before I bought anything, and add to that the hotels are £500 a night. But
he did say he was going to give out refunds, didn't he, Frank? If you didn't want to go now,
original point of purchase. I love it when they say.
But see the thing with the Sorrow fight. The Sorrow fight was it was a vacant belt, so it could have went to purse bids. I'm not trying to defend MD here because it's a pure fuck up, and Frank Warren's cards just go to shit all the time. Whatever he touches just fucking burns. But you don't agree to a fight if you don't agree with the money. So it could have went to a purse bid. So why did Sorrow agree to this?
Brian, Sorrow's actually on Twitter. He's literally got 75 followers. I don't know if it's an official account, but I feel like he's not famous enough for someone to make a fake one. But I found this account of his, and he was basically saying to some guy who accused him of ducking Liam Smith, some Scouser. He basically said, no, my manager accepted an offer without my permission, and when I looked at it, the terms were horrendous. He said, his words were something like, he went to New Jersey, Fort Glen Tapia, and he was basically saying I was going to get less money to fight for a title against Liam Smith.
WBO and say, I never accepted this.
Sorry, say again?
Why not just go to WBO and say, I never agreed to this, it's not been to purse bids, we wanted to go to purse bids. It just seems as if
but it felt like his representative agreed on his behalf. Do you know what I mean? And then he sort of showed up on Monday morning and was like, wait, what have you agreed to? What is this? That's the impression I got. I don't, you can never tell exactly what's going on.
It just sounds a bit dodgy all in.
And they had a replacement lined up very quickly. Do you know what I mean? A guy who got knocked out a year ago. That all came together that always makes me sceptical. Straight away they got John Thompson in, who is a showbox fighter, let's be real. He's the sort of guy you'd see on ESPN on Friday Night Fights, that sort of level. And
are you not looking forward to Liam Smith being a world champion, though? Shep, come on.
Well, I'm just glad that one of the Smith brothers is finally a world champion, because they've all been, Miura ducked Stephen Smith for about a year. He was begging for that fight.
I
thought Paul Smith beat Abraham both times. He was robbed. And, you've got Callum Smith, who's arguably the greatest super middleweight this country's ever produced already.
Callum Smith will be George Rose
I think Callum Smith will be, pound for pound. He's already mixed it at world level against Shez Locker.
And Christopher Rebras.
Yeah, Rebras is...
and don't forget Vladimir Biase.
Rebras is the gatekeeper to world level at super middle.
Rebras is a very average European level fighter, and I think if you put a guy like De Gale or Groves, Groves when he's not coming off a massive KO defeat, I think Groves at his peak would knock him out, and I think De Gale would win every minute of every... Do you know what I mean? He'd absolutely school him. But anyway...
Callum Smith won 120, 107, Shep. Come on.
Yeah, that's a fair card. from Mr. P. Smith at ringside.
No, it's Ian John Lewis.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah, he gave him...
I think it was. It was either Ian John or Terry O'Connor. It was one of the two. And it doesn't surprise me from either of them, to be honest.
What was really annoying about that was I was trying to argue, it was... that was a week or two before the Crawler thing, wasn't it, with Perez? And I remember saying, look, look, Crawler Perez is an example where the cards are a little bit out and it makes a difference. It determines the outcome. But the cards can be a little bit out even with the right winner. I think I was talking to Jackson, actually, and I said to him, look, we all know Smith beat Rabras, but he didn't win every round. And he was like, yeah, to be fair, I only gave him 10 rounds. And I was like, exactly. So those cards were at least 2 rounds out, even though you had the right winner. And people just kind of accepted that as being the cards are a bit wide, but who cares sort of a situation. And I just think it's a bit hypocritical for them. 2 weeks later, they were moaning that the same cards were 2 points out the other way. But anyway, so no one's going to Manchester then?
I was asked to go and I refused to go. I just don't have any trust in one. I just refuse to go to any shows in case it all just falls to bits. So the last one I was at was like Derry Matthews, and that's because he invited me down. And
what, Dirty Derry invited you down for a dirty
yeah, Team Dirty. I was invited down there, and that was
rubbing shoulders with the stars.
Liam Smith totally loved me.
He called you. What did he call you, Brian? Do you want to tell the listeners?
Wasn't it?
Something like
fat,
that.
greasy bastard, wasn't it?
Was that it?
It's a greasy
if I'd have known it was you, I would have chinned you, you fat greasy bastard. That was exactly what it was.
The use of greasy.
I don't think we live through my horrific abuse.
Fair, Brian would be his best, the best name on his record.
Aye, basically.
0-0-0.
I reckon Brian would go the rounds with him.
I'm undefeated. But basically, when I went down there for the Derry fight, that was meant to be the world title fight with Abril, and that fell through. And that's when Butler get knocked out. But I'm quite high on Butler, and I was like, I'll go down there to watch that fight, and I was absolutely paralytic one, and I thought Butler was winning the fight, and some guy sitting next to me saying, "What are you talking about, mate? He's getting done in," and next thing he gets knocked out. But I've got no trust in any Warren's cards. I mean, Warren could give me 100% guarantee that he's making a fight, and the boxer would probably be taking a shite and have a stroke and die the next day. He's just got absolutely no luck. I don't know.
Yeah, you feel like something's always going to go wrong, don't you? Whatever it is.
With the Eubank fight when he fought Tudanov. Was it one of the Tudanovs he fought when he won that?
Dimitri, I think.
Yeah. Wasn't that fight in jeopardy
him
when they was in the changing rooms over something?
It was the gloves?
It was
it's the officials. He wanted European.
Yes.
He wanted European officials or something like that.
So even when he's got both fighters there in the arena in the dressing room, he barely can get a fight on there.
It was literally in the dressing room as well, wasn't it?
And I remember that on the Box Nation feed. It was like 9:30, and they were like, as far as we're aware, the fight should be agreed any minute, and it was like half an hour before they were due in the ring.
Basically, Frank Warren is proper leprosy. He's like cards are leprosy, and it turns just fucking total disease. And the thing is, Warren kind of pushes his fighters harder than Hearn. He just doesn't have any luck, or maybe he pushes his fighters harder because he knows the fights are never going to fucking happen. But he looks to always to match his guys a bit harder, and
I do feel like with Warren at the moment, or maybe in the last 18 months or so, he's kind of been aware of the need to like make a statement with Hearn kind of taking over Sky and all this stuff.
With the Billy Joe Saunders and Eubank fight especially, I think that was a big one. Massive hype around that fight.
Massive hype.
It wasn't a matchroom card on Sky.
I say hats off to him for that. I thought that I really enjoyed that fight, and I thought it was a good fight, and it was the scores were that was fine. The scores were fair. They can rematch again. I think that did both guys a favour, to be honest. That
card went on for about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It did, yeah. But then again, so did the whole card. Eddie Hearn's famous Rumble on the Humber. That went on from 5.
Yeah, but that's because the crowd didn't want it to end, mate.
But nobody had any house. Nobody's got any houses in fucking Hull. They had nowhere to go home anyway. They were just stomping about the streets after that.
To be fair, Hull is a lot easier to get about than London. So it was. Yeah, exactly. It was all right. It did finish at 12:30, but it was a lot easier to get about.
I remember going round to a mate's, Tom, for the Fury Chisora card, and watching it on a friend's, and then we all ended up, everyone ends up sleeping on the sofa because It didn't finish till about 2 a.m. and like it was about an hour away from my flat, and I was like, I'm not going home now. But yeah, it was a bit of a nightmare. But I think I was just about lucid for Saunders Eubank, and I remember I enjoyed that fight a lot. And I'll look for a rematch in a few years, I think. Okay, so no one's going to Manchester. So right, the next one is we'll move on to everyone's favourite welterweight. Everyone's favourite welterweight, Mr. Kell Brook.
Oh, Kell Brook.
So, right, news. What, yesterday? It was finally confirmed that he's fighting Chavez. I'm not sure what card it's going to be on yet. Is it going to be in Sheffield or?
Fury versus Klitschko. It's going to be a double-header pay-per-view.
Oh yeah,
supposedly
guaranteed.
I can't get my head around how Eddie Hearn is going to.
Double header he's had. I can tell you that.
Way.
That didn't take long at all.
Right, Brian, that's a strike. All right. You can't offend the listenership. Kell is probably going to be listening to this.
All four of them.
Right, so what do we think of Chavez then? I say.
Hi, Declan.
I say he got a draw with Bradley, and Bradley's a great fighter, so come back from that.
Did Bradley beat Pacquiao as well?
Bradley beat Pacquiao. And...
Did Mayweather beat Pacquiao?
Floyd? Can we talk about Floyd already?
So if Kell Brook beats Chavez, he's doing something that.
Well, he's ahead of Pacquiao, I think.
He's playing for Chavez. Number one if he beats Chavez.
Well, Floyd's already ducking Brook. Furman's
Chavez
ducking Brook.
got disqualified against Rios, and that was a disgrace because he was winning the fight, and he got a draw against Tim Bradley, who beat Manny Pacquiao. That's all that needs to be said.
Are you okay? Good. I was annoyed then because that Rios fight really annoyed me because I thought that if anything, the disqualification was too late. He could have gone any time from the 5th round on. He was completely out of control in that fight.
It was disgusting.
He was filthy,
it was horrendous.
and it was completely deserved as a DQ. Like the most obvious example that I've ever seen.
It's very, very rare that we get disqualifications as well, when they should actually be a lot more common, in my opinion. Anyway, like Mares against.
I didn't believe it was a disqualification.
Excuse me, Brian.
That's because you're a Matchroom fanboy, mate. We've established this.
The problem with this fight really is it's not that it's Chavez, because it's the way Hearn was banging on about it being Rios or Bradley.
But no,
that's the thing.
But counterpoint to that is, sorry, Brian, you might be about to say the same thing. Is that to be honest, Chavez and Rios are about on the same level.
But that's not. You can't defend that either. Rios is shite. Rios only made his name at 135 when he was a big fucking bullying people. Ever since he's went up in weights, he's been pushed. And I never accepted the Rios fight either. Like people were like, oh, it'd be decent. I was like, no, it's not. The guy's fucking brain dead. Kell Brook will absolutely waste him.
Yeah, but it's the chance to make a statement, isn't it? If he could have blasted Rios, that would have been a statement in the division, I think.
Rios was
look what happened the last time he tried to blast a guy. He ended up getting chopped up Tenerife.
Fuck's sake. Right.
Rios was my minimum option, simply because I agree with the point that Rios and Chavez are probably on a similar level now. But what Rios brings is the fact that he's in a name value and he costs a lot of money, and it's proof that Eddie wants to fork out and he's going to actually pay for an opponent to come over here. He's not just going to pay, the fucking change that's down the back of his sofa to pay for Chavez.
Yeah, do you know on that
name.
topic, Alex? Does anyone know the purses for the Chavez-Rios fight? Because they were quite eye-opening.
35,000.
Didn't Chavez only got 60 grand for fighting Bradley, didn't he? $65,000 or something.
For the Rios fight, Rios coming off, losing every minute against Pacquiao. Rios got something like $550,000. Chavez got $50,000 plus like half the pay-per-view money in Argentina, and
he must have cleared 60 grand then. Come the end.
Yeah, exactly. He cleared a cool 65k.
Tom, you went more than him yesterday, didn't you?
Always, mate.
You went more than Chavez yesterday, mate.
I did. Chavez in his last 10 fights combined.
But do we think Brook stops him? Does he make a statement in that way?
Yeah,
I don't think a decision does anything for Brook, really.
It depends if Chavez headbutts the fuck out of him in the first 3 rounds.
I don't know if he stops him. For all of Chavez's faults, he can take a punch, man. It took Thurman fucking a hell of a lot to get him away.
Got him away.
Is Thurman's power a bit overstated, though?
Yes. No, It's not Golovkin power, but I think he has got like decent fucking power in both hands. But I'm starting to be convinced with him. But I think this fight's trash. See if Hearn just didn't do his usual, and as soon as one of his fighters like wins, he's getting the bobby out doing the helicopter and all that, and like getting it. Oh, we're going to get this guy. He's named every single person, and you've even got his dad turning around and saying everybody in the 147 division's ducking Brook. Floyd doesn't want anything to do with him.
On Barry,
come on.
Did anyone see what Barry said yesterday about it's not who you beat, it's who you go in with?
Yeah, basically, it's not you don't need to win now. It's how you fucking lose it.
Well,
that's how you get a fight.
Paul Smith is world class now after that tweet.
But see if you didn't
remember what the fight was where Kell Brook won and then Hearn said that there was going to be a massive name coming next.
It was Sinchenko.
Was it Carson Jones too?
It was Sinchenko when he said.
I know that the massive name was Sinchenko, but who was the?
It's been every single fight.
It was Robles. You remember that?
Was it David Robles?
South America or whatever.
In 2 rounds.
And it was the one where everyone was fed up because he'd been mandatory for Alexander and it kept falling through. And then he got a couple of sort of easy wins. And then Hearn went, "Don't worry about it. I know you're frustrated, but there's a massive name coming."
Massive name.
And then Sinchenko rolls over.
The only thing massive about his name is that it's about fucking 50 letters long.
And they done the usual. They tried to use the fucking storyline he had, which I knew they were going to use. It's just a constant storyline. But I've heard Danny mention every welterweight under the sun that he was going to get for Brook, and nobody would be bothering here. I'm all for mandatories getting their shot, so I didn't have a problem with Jojo Dan getting the fight because he'd earned it. As much as he's shite and as much as the rankings is a bit topsy-turvy, he'd earned it, so he got the fight.
Yeah, I agree.
He said 2016 he might get Gavin the fight. Not now. What does he do? Started struggling. He needed a card on pay-per-view. He gave Frankie Gavin. Absolute fucking turgid. Now Chavez is a shit fight. I don't give a fuck. Right? See, we should be holding every champion at the same level here. If Brook is a good fight for Floyd, right? But Chavez is a good fight for Brook. Could you imagine what fucking the meltdown would be if Floyd turned around and says, "Oh, I'm fighting fucking Diego Chavez, who's like 1-3." It's bad enough Berto's 3-3. People are going fucking nuts, but he's getting a pass for this, and they're using his injury for last year. But he's already had 2 fights. You can't keep turning around and saying, "Oh, this is his 3rd fight after getting stabbed." What about it? He's already had 2. The fucking stabbing's irrelevant now. He's over it.
No, that's you're right about that. Either he's fit to fight or he's not. You can't sit on the fence with it.
Let's bring up the usual comparisons with Brook. It's always the comparison with what Khan's doing. And if Khan fought Chavez, people would be on fucking uproar. They'd be taking the piss out of him, especially Hearn and Nicole. They would be taking the piss out of Khan for fighting Chavez. And Chavez would be a shit opponent for Khan. And Khan, Algieri, he's better than Chavez.
Yeah, Algieri's better than Chavez, so I agree with that.
When the Algieri fight was signed, people absolutely annihilated Khan, right? And I stuck up for him because the Algieri fight is quite good. Algieri's a good fighter, and there's no 2 ways about it. He's a decent fighter.
You had Algieri beating Pacquiao, didn't you, Tom?
I had Algieri 10 rounds up against Pacquiao, yeah. No,
none of those were legit knockdowns.
He was let out of the cage, so it was alright.
He slipped.
Mate, he was out of the cage in the 1st round. He wiped him out. What are you talking about? He knocked Pacquiao out.
I agree with you, Tom, to an extent, but I do think that part of the backlash with the Algieri fight was that it was basically the same opponent that he'd been fighting for a year before that. Do you know what I mean? He fought Collazo, who's a bit tricky but not a big puncher. Then he fought Alexander, who's a bit tricky but not a big puncher. And then he fought Algieri. And it was just kind of the same. It was a bit like that period when Floyd was fighting, I guess you could sort of drag Maidana in there, where Floyd was repeatedly fighting Latino guys who had a bit of a punch but were quite slow. And people were just saying like Canelo.
Guerrero.
Like Guerrero,
Canelo.
like Maidana. And you were just saying sort of, this is all good. All of these wins are solid, but you want to see the best test themselves, in different ways.
The Pacquiao fight.
Yeah,
and that was it.
Exactly, and Pacquiao was pretty much the opposite.
Yeah.
And he would have won if he hadn't buggered his arm up, but that's a
exactly
different issue.
I mean, saltwater is it's a new development in science.
I heard that Floyd blocked the saltwater getting delivered to his changing room before the fight, and it completely fucked everything up. No denial
He's a
from Brian.
bastard.
Moving on. So yeah,
Such
so
a
okay,
prick
so we
boy.
don't like Chavez, and then obviously to add sort of insult to injury, we've got Hearn doing the classic. He's going to fight twice, i.e., this next fight is so easy I can book him in a second one afterwards.
That's what.
Which
that's
again,
what
I
annoys
keep
me.
saying this. It's totally fine. I remember Billy Joe doing it a couple of years ago when he had the O'Sullivan fight booked, and then he had Ryder afterwards, and it was fine because O'Sullivan was unbeaten, Ryder was unbeaten, and Billy Joe at the time was a British level fighter, so it was totally fine to do it. Like, if anything, you found yourself saying like, Billy Joe's actually, he's taking a bit of a chance here because he could lose to both these guys potentially. But when it's, Chavez and then, I don't know, Bizier or maybe not Bizier if Errol Spence's going to knock him out. I don't know who it'll be. Like,
it's Shane Mosley in December, 100%.
I reckon
It's already been signed. I
It's
think
not Mosley. Fuck's
it's
sake.
Mosley.
That would
I don't
actually
even think
be.
Hearn would go to do that.
So,
It'll be the
fuck
winner
off,
of
you don't
Gavin
think Hearn would
Edington.
bring Mosley over.
I don't think
Jesus
he...
Christ.
No,
bro.
he wouldn't do that.
Okay,
I
'cause
really
he
don't.
hasn't brought
I'd be
over
amazed
fucking
if
half-brain
it's
dead
Mosley.
Michael Katsidis before, has he?
Yeah,
They
get
need
mate, that's a
to
good,
be on the mandatory next fight, so that's what it's going to be.
Get Katsidis up to welter. That's a good idea.
That's it. That's the fucking deal there.
He's done the rounds with Marquez 9 years
with
ago.
Tommy Coyle.
Marquez
He's done a
fought
round
Floyd,
with Tommy
so I
Coyle.
don't see what the difference is. Right, that's what Hearn will say.
Exactly.
Or he'll drag
And that's
Coyle.
what I'm saying.
Poor old Coyle. You'll see Coyle fighting like the winner of Smith Fielding in 18 months' time. Just getting absolutely battered. And smiling.
I've got
throughout
no
the
issue
whole
with that.
Bim.
Do you know what? I actually quite like Coyle now. Not as a fighter, but just because I think he's actually quite honest about the sport and about what he can do. And
When he said after he lost, he's a British level fighter.
yeah, I thought that was a really noble thing
Did
to
Hearn
say.
not chip in and go, no, Tommy, you world level, we'll get your title shot, I promise.
He's concussed. He means world level. He's got eliminated next month.
He means he's fighting Floyd Mayweather next.
Yeah. Floyd does not want a piece of Coyle.
Listen, what you've got to understand is, Cougs, Floyd Mayweather needs Tommy Coyle.
We don't need the Vegas. Yeah, we don't need the Vegas guys over here.
We need another Rumble on the Humber part 2 with Floyd Mayweather. I don't understand how you can sign a contract to fight two guys, like after one after the other. Because you can't. Because what happens if you get cut in the first fight? Do you still have to pay the second guy his money that he's signed to fight for?
I think there would be a clause in there, wouldn't there? Because I remember famously, Brian has probably erased this from his memory, but Mayweather signing to fight Judah when Judah was already scheduled to fight Baldomir. Do you remember that one? And then Judah lost to Baldomir, and then Mayweather went ahead and fought him anyway. And
Judah got a third of the money because of that.
Right, yeah, right. But what I mean is that Judah had the 2 fights signed, and so it kind of took the shine off Mayweather's win, which was a good win. Judah was still a good fighter, but him coming off a defeat, it kind of completely took the edge off what should have been a massive pay-per-view.
He should have had a clause in there that if he loses, if Judah lost, he could have gone straight to fight Baldomir.
I think he fought him straight after anyway, didn't he?
Yeah, he did fight.
Did he fight Baldomir right away? So he did.
No,
he fought him straight after Judah, didn't he? Next one.
Yeah.
I thought he. All right, okay. So I would have done it the other way around. If Baldomir won the lineal championship, then I would have gone to fight Baldomir first.
Yeah, and then you would have had.
Not
But
Judah.
then it's taking a risk that Zab can actually pull it together for a fight and win, and then then you set
Zab
that
Judah
up.
can't do that in big fights.
Yeah, exactly. He would have only gone and lost like again, and then it would the payday's out the window. Right. So I thought on the Brook issue, we could the question could be if you were Brook's manager, or if you were Brook's in an ideal world you're his promoter. What do you do with him? Do you advise him to leave Hearn? Do you advise him to go to Haymon? Do you advise him to go after a certain guy in the division? Obviously Floyd, but realistically, what would you have him do?
I'd send him with one of the mad Christian spiritualists to get that gayness out of him so he doesn't keep fucking about for a start.
Brook is actually a really, really popular fighter. Like, he does big numbers on Sky, so I would just
I
start
did.
to
Gay clubs as well.
I would tell him to just
Very
fucking
popular in
fly
the
it
day
solo
clubs.
and he doesn't what? Sorry.
Don't make him repeat it, for fuck's sake. Keep
I
going, Tom.
really want him to repeat it. No, I think he's a big name and he brings a lot of numbers to Sky. So I would just tell him to go on his own, and see what he can do. You know, speak to
Grove.
fighters.
What? So yeah, but if you're his manager, mate, you think he makes more money staying around on Sky than if he goes to the States? You're trying to get, you're trying to maximise his career, really.
I think he needs to speak to Barney Francis like George Groves does, and just leave Hearn out of the equation completely. Go to a third party.
Barney Francis is the king. Okay.
Is Brook as big as Groves is though?
That's a close one.
I don't know. You ask that
probably,
guy
yeah.
to see him in Tenerife.
For fuck's sake.
I don't think George has. He hasn't had too many Iberian holidays recently. Yeah.
He doesn't look like he has. I don't think he's.
Yeah, I don't think he's been on the beach tanning recently.
All right. After what we were saying about the PBC earlier on, if you was Brook's manager, would you advise him to go on it?
No, the standard of fights recently have been terrible.
He should go. He should go stateside, or he should make Hearn send him stateside for like the Bradley fight.
But surely he could.
Yeah,
surely he could
like
do.
David McDonald.
Surely he could do a Selby, and he could say, "I'm getting Haymon on board. You know, I can still fight on Sky, but you have to negotiate it with Haymon first, and then see if Eddie will put his money where his mouth is." Because, like you say, if Brook does good numbers, then Eddie and Barney Francis will want to keep him on Sky, whether it's with Matchroom or whether it's with someone else. Do you know what I mean? Like Groves, you know, they know that Groves is a draw, so whoever he's promoted by, it doesn't. And I'm sure they'll still televise Selby, won't they? When he's actually, will they? I don't know.
Selby's not very popular.
Yeah. No, Selby don't sell tickets either, does he?
He doesn't.
Now the Scott Quigg, and it's not stopped them fucking putting Ram him down a throat.
Yeah, but they chuck him on with Crawler, don't they? And Crawler doesn't.
He doesn't
put him on
headline,
Crawler
does he?
undercard.
Yeah, exactly.
See the
What's
one
going to
thing-
really piss me off about that is the fact that Scott Quigg versus Donnell will be on the Crawler undercard.
Can't fight
And
past
they
10
will
o'clock.
still be. Do you reckon they'll still be talking about the accident
Yeah,
Possibly, yes.
in exactly the same terms? Like,
Yeah,
Miracle Man.
It's a comeback, is it?
Like now,
He's already had his comeback.
Going, you flag.
the comeback seems to last for like 18 months, 2 years.
They're still talking about fucking Kell getting
stabbed
stabbed in
in
the
the
leg
flag.
from being a fucking... Well, that exactly.
Is it shot, stabbed and slabbed, Brian?
You know Hearn's
no.
losing the argument because he references the horrific injury. Like, it's just like that default, you know, like last-ditch attempt to save his reputation.
He doesn't ever mention fuck. No, I was just going to say something.
Go on.
But no,
I think,
I really was going to have to phone a lawyer there.
yeah, I think we should.
See the
we
thing
should
with
move
like Brook and Groves. So I think like Groves is quite intelligent. Brook comes across as if he's
fucking divvy.
yeah. So you know how like Groves has went and done everything himself. I don't think Brook can hardly fucking have a line of Charlie without fucking getting into baller.
I think,
Never mind fucking controlling his own career.
I think you're right. I think Groves is the sort of guy where you could put him in any country and he'd probably end up promoting his own shows or something. And he'd do what Mosley's done, which is actually, to be fair to him, Mosley
Get
can't fight anymore.
robbed off your wife and fucking end up acting like a pure bollock on Twitter.
Well, I've heard
Well, when Kell's missus finds out about him,
Yeah.
she'll be fucking right off.
His missus already knows, for fuck's sake. How could you not know? Have you heard his voice? Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah. I'm going to fight big names next, maybe. Oh, go on.
Get that
then.
chocolate
I'll go
brownie
back
right
now.
in about me.
We've all
Oh,
heard,
nice bit of chocolate brownie right hand. Oh, baby.
but Andy's got quite a feminine voice, and he's a ladies' man, so I don't think it always applies. We'll get Andy on the next show, and he can come back to me. Right, so guys, so we're not happy with Brook, and we think he should basically what?
Fuck off.
No, he's a really talented fighter, but he's been underutilized by his manager.
Okay.
promoter.
Ideal world, and assume that Pacquiao, Mayweather, and Khan are off the table. Who would you get for Brook next?
Sermon.
Assuming you've got a pot of $2 million.
Sermon.
Bradley.
Okay. Well,
Keith,
straight away.
yeah, Keith.
Yeah, but
Bradley.
Hearn has said there are basically no circumstances under which Thurman will be allowed to come to the UK.
Diego Chavez.
I think Bradley would come
with Hearn.
if they paid the money. Bradley's already come over. He already, beat Junior Witter, didn't he? 10 years ago.
Witter, yeah, he beat Junior Witter. Yeah. But that was for a very, very small amount of money, I think.
You scored that for Witter, though, mate. I remember.
I had that 10 rounds to Witter, mate. Yeah.
I think Bradley would come if they offered the money. I think.
How much does Bradley get? Because he gets more than
2 million.
10 million a fight.
Oh man, you're on glue.
10 million a fight.
$10 million. I think he got for Pacquiao.
Hi, that's Pacquiao.
Both Pacquiao
Bradley
fights
gets Sam. As far as I know, Bradley gets about 1.5 million a fight, something like that, or like 1.2.
They could theoretically afford to do it then. If that's the case, get Bradley over.
Yeah, you're talking. I think you're talking 750 grand plus, and Bradley would think about it.
The thing with Tim Bradley is everyone used to slate him for being in shit, boring fights. But the last few years, every single one of his fights has been relatively exciting.
It's just because he can't.
Tim Bradley.
If he could punch, he'd be the most popular
against
fighter.
Vargas.
Sorry,
$1.5 million. Tim Bradley's fight against Diego Chavez, $2 million.
Yeah, he's on a $2 million retainer. That's his contract. $2 million minimum.
He's on a massive wage.
Okay, so let's be fair.
What's $2 million in pound then?
It's £1.4 million.
You could do it then. Brook fights for $250.
Bollocks.
That's a lot of money for Sky. That's a lot of money. I don't. Would you rather have that or without sounding like an idiot, a stat card with, the likes of
no, because we don't ever get MD over here.
Sort of
we never get MD over here. We should be entitled to get at least one or two proper world class fighters over here. Sky have got the money. They made an absolute fucking fortune on the Fronch fights, and he says they were going to reinvest it. They've reinvested fuck all. All they've done is reinvested in a bigger gear than the bastards.
They haven't reinvested it in anything. They've lost the fucking cricket.
Cheeky barbecue and every fucking year. Don't get me started.
Brian,
all right.
Sky are hard up for money. That's why they have to do adverts during pay-per-views.
Oh, Jesus Christ, man.
They don't have enough money, all right?
Fucking Nando bastard.
Right. Okay, we're going to move on from... Actually, no, we've got one more matchroom item, I'm afraid. But it's a bit of a fun one. This weekend sees the return of boxing to one of the most noble and glorious cities in the UK. The great northern bastion of Leeds, where Josh Warrington is marching on together with his countrymen and facing some bloke who lost, by my count, literally lost every second of the fight against Lee Selby. He was absolutely humiliated, Joel Brunker, and has fought once since against a journeyman. So that's pretty boring. And then we've got, Yafai against Juarez. No idea. Bellew against...
Bellew an 8-rounder.
Yeah, that's an 8-rounder, yeah. Bellew against Bellew at heavyweight, inexplicably, against a guy who was confirmed today for a fight.
Stu Hall's on this card as well.
Yeah.
I like Stewie Hall.
Mate, it's actually a huge... Mate, there's about
45 fights and 45
fights.
in them are straight.
Yeah. Stuart Hall's second on the order. Bloody hell, why is he so low?
Is he a free agent or is he signed with Hearn?
Stuart Hall was low on the card as well.
Stuart, by the looks of this, the running order, Stuart Hall will be on at about 5 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah, that was what it was like at Hull. He was on at 6 o'clock.
It's ridiculous.
Against some fucking retard.
Okay, here's another one. You might laugh at me. This is a Tom scorecard, but I thought he beat Caballero when they fought in Monaco. Do you remember that about 18 months ago? That was a very close fight, but I had Hall by a point or two in that fight.
I thought it was
had
close,
him beating
but Paul
Butler,
didn't win
but
that.
not Caballero.
Did he get knocked down in the Caballero fight? I think that might have been the difference. I think he might have got knocked down early. But anyway, so what do we think of Warrington? I think Selby's ducking him, and that's why he signed with Haymon, to be honest. I think Selby's
scared of the Leeds crowd, mate. That Leeds crowd, everyone's fucking terrified.
Well, exactly.
They'll throw a beach ball at Lee Selby.
It brings me on to the question perfectly.
You look like Lee Selby.
Me?
Yeah, you.
I'm not 126 pounds, mate. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, but you look a lot like Lee Selby.
I'll look like Selby when he's 45, maybe.
Okay.
Mature.
Handsome.
I've got a list of things, and I want you to tell me. I've got a list of incidents that could happen during the Leeds show, and you have to tell me if you think any of these would force Sky to basically stop going to the city. Whether you
Johnny
think Sky
Nelson dying.
Whether you think
Johnny
Sky
Nelson's
would draw the line.
interactions going horribly wrong.
Right, so you'll have to use your imagination a little bit for some of these. But you tell me if this would cause the Sky executives to say, right, we can't go to Leeds anymore, basically. But number one, an object, I'm not sure what the object would be, hitting either. Yeah, all right. I thought someone was going to say that, genuinely. Let's say a can of beer hitting either Nick Halling or Jim Watt.
Is that a red side can
not.
or a super black can?
It's Super T, isn't it?
It's going to be Simon then.
A half empty can of Boddington's
Link
hitting
Super.
Jim Watt in the head.
I'd fucking
No
love
chance. Nah.
Like, do you remember
like-
the Salido fight when Al Bernstein got nailed with that can of Modelo or whatever it was? And he's trying to say, like, I think this was a good decision. And you just hear it absolutely, like,
Dunk.
crash against his face.
Can you remember
Some
when fucking
furious
Gary
Puerto Rican
O'Sullivan
guy.
got a chair thrown at him?
Spike.
Oh, mate,
Gary
yeah.
O'Sullivan.
Is it Gary O'Sullivan?
It was O'Sullivan, and it was the stool in the corner, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was really bad. Like,
It was
I
fucking
think if
viciously
they
thrown as
nearly
well.
throw that, they should be reported to the police. To be honest, but it seems
Yes.
incredibly dangerous.
If a can of beer hits Nick Halling in the head, he's just going to go, wow, look at this fucking atmosphere. It's amazing here.
You want some?
The beer's a little bit warm,
Nick
but who
Halling trying to
cares?
fight someone in the crowd.
I hope it's a fucking slab of beers that gets hurt me.
All right, so
24.
Brian's
24 crate.
you're raising me. You're saying a crate of lager hitting Nick Halling, right?
Right in the face.
Okay, the next one is a beach ball comes into the ring again, only this time it's full of beer and it explodes.
What about smack? Could it be full of smack?
It's full of a white powder that just covers the entire ring.
Kell Brook will be right in there. He'll be right in the ring. And then
Leeds
right
scum
into
wouldn't
the
waste
ring.
that much drugs. Leeds scum wouldn't waste that much drugs.
Imagine Sky trying to cover it up. Eddie saying, "I think it might have been chalk. Actually, it was just like a load of kids."
It was sucrose, that powder that you get from Aldi. That's
Probably
dead
just
cheap.
doing their own work.
No,
in the
it can't
crowd.
really thing.
Imagine somebody just lobbed a petrol bomb in and the place burnt down and everybody died.
Brian, we're supposed to be building up slowly. You can't skip straight to number 10. Okay, so you're saying no chance for that one. Okay, the next one. Every single round is 4 minutes.
I can see that.
Would they then say, right, seriously, we have to look at Leeds as a venue because it's just out of control?
They probably
They might say that.
I don't think
They
the crowd
might-
would notice. I don't think the crowd would notice.
There was a
at all.
2-minute round after it, though. That was
Yeah.
brilliant.
Got to make up for
They
it.
might offer an apology afterwards, but that won't stop them from going back.
Okay. So they might apologise for that one. Okay.
Listen, it's for showing off. It's to show off Josh Warrington's conditioning.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that is
exactly.
all.
Josh Warrington requested
Supreme
these 4-minute
conditioning.
rounds, Jim. Okay, we've got Bellew doing his classic post-fight, screaming, but accidentally, instead of gobbing on Nathan Cleverly, he gobs into the crowd. And the crowd just absolutely erupts.
What would the crowd do?
Destroyed
Would the
him.
crowd go
Do
back
they
and
react?
kill him?
To the point where the crowd are like, you can see the security having to hold them back, and like they're genuinely trying to get in and get Bellew. Would that scare
I
Eddie
think
off?
that they would appreciate that a little bit more than usual. I think that would give them more incentive to go back.
It shows his passion. Yeah.
Yeah, it shows
It's
the
going to
crowd's
be
passion.
vicious, mate.
When he put his saliva in my face, he knew that I was here to fight. Yeah.
Kell
Other
Brook,
members of the audience.
if Kell Brook sees some guy spitting at another guy, he'll get a stoner.
Brian, for fuck's sake.
Devil's Lab.
Can we Brian needs a time Brian needs a time out, genuinely. Right, the next one. Clearly audible racist chanting throughout the fight. Like so
Does that not usually happen?
to the point where there's no way they can try and sort of cover it
It's
up
going to
or
be.
whatever.
There will be racism, but it'll be anti-Oz racism, and that's not proper racism.
Exactly.
So
I agree with you.
They're not going to be upset about that.
Talking?
Yeah, they'll be I don't know. They'll have.
N-bombs?
They'll be genuinely, and this is going to sound horrible. There will be people dressed up with like spears and didgeridoos and stuff. I reckon that will happen. No, I'm not even joking, and it'll be really horrible, and like it'll be people with like face paint on and stuff. I reckon that might happen.
They won't go that far.
I reckon it could happen, mate. I reckon we could see that. And Eddie will say it's a great night out.
With people dressed up as Al Stewart, Matt, you're flaming mongrel.
Eddie will issue a statement on Monday morning saying, "I've got loads of Australian friends, and they all thought it was funny."
Loads of Aboriginal Australians. They're all my best friends.
Aye.
Johnny Nelson's Aboriginal.
Next one,
No.
a male stripper, a streaker, running into the ring during the fight.
Is that
No,
not the
that
guy
would
we were
just
talking
be-
about before?
Quillen's opponent.
Yeah, Quillen's opponent.
Michael Zarafa shows up. Yeah.
He's going to run into the ring, bollock naked, with an elastic band round his hard cock.
Well, he's Australian as well, isn't he? So he could be supporting.
Oh, he is
Drunkard, so
Australian. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. This is all set up.
He's going to have a
perfectly.
spear.
Yeah. Okay.
No,
what
they'll
was he
they'll
on
attribute that to the atmosphere. It'll be, oh, what a great atmosphere.
Who's this? This is Quillen's next opponent. What's he doing? He's got his dick out, Jim. Wow. What an atmosphere.
Okay, the next one is a group of scallies keying Eddie's Bentley in the parking lot during the show. Because I think Eddie would want revenge for that. He might remove.
I don't think Eddie takes his own car there in case that happens.
Yeah.
I reckon
think
he
he
gets
just said
like
everything.
a taxi or something.
He just sent Kell Brook round to go and fuck them.
For fuck's sake.
Fuck them up. Same thing.
Okay, and the last one is a full-on like riot, like Bo Gallotta style. If Warrington loses,
Yeah, that'll be it.
no, but you don't.
Wait,
They
Warrington
might
loses.
try and get an arena show with Selby in the future, like Ellen Road or something like that. Like they could build Warrington back up and then push.
If
for it
someone
again.
gets killed, then they might not. But
It'll just be a big fucking arena at incest, and everyone just pump each other.
Do you know what, Alex?
Rage.
Do you know what? Completely honestly, this is going to sound really horrible, but I could see them just trying to not sweep it under the carpet, but be like, "Oh, he had a heart condition or something," and just make. They would genuinely try and make an excuse for it. Like you see it at sporting events all the time, like football
Do
fans
like
dying, and they try and cover it up. It's disgraceful.
He took a heart attack. That wasn't a knife marked on his face. No,
Yeah,
it was
exactly. Like, we actually think we think he had a heart attack before he was stomped. Yeah,
Before his head caved in.
yeah.
we saw a bloke running around with his cock out. We think he came from Sheffield there.
We heard a lot of Sheffield accents in the crowd. Yeah. Right. Okay.
Paul.
Penultimate item. We're almost done for the first pod. We can't really do the Careless Whisper feature, which we'll introduce at a later date. I think Rocco should be on to be the first
Singles
one.
Careless Whisper.
To kick it off. It's his.
And this is running quite long now as well. To be
Yeah,
fair.
we've gone well over half hour that we scheduled ourselves.
I thought it was going to be an hour.
What was an half
What
hour?
if it's an hour and a half?
It was an hour and 20.
It's an hour and
Hour and
45.
43, this is.
Yeah, since you got on the call originally, but
Oh.
we weren't recording that bit.
Oh, I see.
All right. Okay.
I hope you don't.
You can edit this bit out.
No, I wasn't
Yeah, put a
recording that
marker
bit.
down.
Right. Okay.
Fuck it.
Last one is introduce the world famous Deakin list, which to listeners and panelists is, if you've ever seen the Fight Game, it's the opposite of the Gatti list. The Gatti list is for the most exciting fighters, the ones who make you who make you want to tune in, win or lose, whatever. The Deakin list is for basically it's people like Bellew who just bore the arse off you, or the one who was the guy you were talking about the other week, Alex, Martin J. Ward, fighters like that, where
Oh
you'll
my
see
God,
them,
he's
you see them
horrendous.
come on, and you just want to, you change the channel
Instantly
for half
switch
an hour,
off.
right? So the
Martin Murray.
Deakin list is a fluke. Yeah, well, yeah, Martin Murray's not a bad
Martin
shout.
Murray's
but-
dreadful.
Yeah, he's not good to watch at all. Although I did enjoy the Golovkin fight.
Everyone enjoyed that though, but for different reasons.
It was good to see him be brave. Compared to
very
fighters from the
brave.
Northwest
He
who
was a
usually
fighter.
just run for 6 rounds
Yeah.
and then get knocked out. So I'd say the inaugural Deakin list. I think Bellew's got a good shout. You guys agree?
I'd say Isaac Chilemba.
It's Bradley Skeet.
Shut up, Bradley Skeet's a fucking hero.
No.
But I don't.
Yes. Fight
yeah,
me
I mean,
in real life.
Skeet is boring. You're right, but I don't root
It should
against
be a
him.
guy
Do
that's
you know what I
fighting.
mean?
It should be a guy that's fighting this weekend. That's what we should base it on.
I think it's got to be Bellew because he's boring. He's bad to watch, and you want him to lose. Like he's got, there's nothing
redeemable qualities whatsoever.
Exactly. He was tweeting out little bomb emoticons yesterday, as if he's going to detonate on this guy. And it's like, when was the last time he properly knocked a guy out? And he's fighting.
He couldn't knock out Cleverly. He was probably pissed in the ring.
Cleverly was sat on the second rope with one arm.
He was as well.
With
a can of super tea in the other arm.
Bellew couldn't even hit him, and he was sat down.
You could see Tony Bellew after the fight go, "Don't mention the arm, don't mention the arm," waving his fucking arm at Cleverly.
You know what's so sad about this? The fact that you have actually watched that fight. I've still never watched it because I refuse to watch any of that card.
Brian, you're a prick.
It was amazing.
Nope.
I can remember, Brian. I think I was out that night, and I came in. I put Twitter on the next morning, and I saw all of you lot saying it was terrible. And I downloaded the show, and I thought it can't be that bad. And literally after 2 hours, I was like, oh my fucking god! And I skipped. I think I was literally. I had it on like 1.5 speed when I was watching it through, and it was still awful.
Nah. I've not watched any.
After the fight, you can see Tony Bellew mentioning to Nathan Cleverly, or say to Nathan Cleverly, "Don't mention that your arm was hurt before the fight." You could see it.
I'm looking forward to the third instalment at the Millennium Stadium when they sell that.
That'll be amazing. That'll sell out 5 minutes.
Well, once
none of the tickets will be on StubHub. Not after 5 minutes or anything. None of the tickets will be on StubHub. It'll sell out in 10 minutes.
7,000
tickets will be on StubHub.
All available for collection in the Merseyside area, mysteriously. Yeah. And in Watford. Oh, 10,000 tickets bought by an anonymous user in Watford. Oh, weird.
£3,000 with every ticket.
Yeah.
Just make sure you pay your tick money or he'll come round and fucking do you in.
So are we saying now that every Matchroom fighter is on the Class A's? Is that basically what we're saying?
Well, there's a few of them, isn't there?
On the first pod.
They're either sniffing it.
Oh, hold on. I've got an exclusive.
Brian.
Rios is fighting Bradley.
Oh!
7th of November.
Is he really?
Not again.
Yeah. Thomas and Mack Centre. What do you mean not again?
I thought that fell through like a couple of weeks ago.
No, it's been agreed.
Oh, right. I thought that was
just tweeted by Robert Garcia.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Garcia.
Okay then.
That comes right on the. Sorry, Sam. Just quickly, that comes right on the. Bradley left Diaz yesterday, didn't he? And now he's signed for it. So maybe that was Diaz getting in the way before, and he didn't want the fight or something. I don't know.
I seen that there was something about like Diaz maybe wanted Bradley to retire because he'd seen him. He's obviously taking too much punishment because he was a boxer, and he's taking a lot more punches now. And I seen somebody earlier on saying that Diaz was wanting me to retire, and that's what the argument's been about.
I don't think you could.
He does resemble a cabbage, Tim Bradley now, or he will do eventually.
That Rios fight will be a war. They're just going to stand in front of each other. It will be like the Ruslan fight, genuinely. I think that's a fight of the year contender,
more
genuinely.
Like the Marquez fight where Bradley will just stand there and they'll just box him.
Will Rios make weight for it, do you think, or not?
He's all right at 147, I think.
Guys, remember, Brandon Rios was scared of fighting Kell Brook, so now he's fighting Timothy Bradley.
Yeah, that's a step down.
And what does that say? Poor Timmy.
The other week, someone asked Rios if he'd fight this year, and he said, "Yeah, no problem. I'll start camp soon." And he said he was only 177 pounds at the moment.
Fucking hell!
No, but he said it as in like, "It's fine. I've just got to drop 30 pounds." And you think like,
just nice
Jesus
and easy.
Christ!
Fuck, I'd suck Tom's dick to be 177 pounds right now.
He's walking around heavier than Frotch, probably, isn't he?
Yeah.
Frotch.
Yeah.
Frotch weighs about 180 usually, so he's about the same weight as Frotch, near enough.
I say we get Gavin versus Rios in a no training match. Neither guy has a camp.
That'd be amazing. It'll be brilliant.
Yeah.
Both guys coming in at 15 stone.
Yeah. I think
throwing
Rios
half
knock
a
him
punch
out,
around.
I'm cheering for Bam Bam. Right. On that note, we've run a little bit long, but Brian's still got to make his dinner. He's just told us. So I'd like to say thank you to everyone, and I hope you all enjoy it whenever you're listening. And we'll be back to do another one soon. Cheers, guys.
TMT.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
TMT. Cheers.
TMT.